Your body adapts to what you ask it to deal with. If you're a runner, you should be asking it to deal with more than just running. We've learned over the years that your skeleton adapts to all the things that we ask it to deal with. If you're a distance runner, your body is going to adapt to running, but it does leave us with a few things we could still improve on. You see, when we look at runners, they tend to not to develop as dense and strong of skeletons as other athletes. This is part of the reason why we think they are at such a high risk of developing stress fractures. When we've examined college runners versus all the other athletes on campus, the athletes that have to deal with stopping, starting, jumping, and all these different movements tend to have stronger skeletons. Now, don't stress yourself out too much. There are things you can do. A study by Fredrickson a few years ago looked at what happens when runners also played soccer during their developmental years. What they found was that for every year of soccer that runner played, they had a 13% reduction in their risk of developing a stress fracture. This was present in both male runners and female runners that had normal menstrual function. We think there's something to these different movement patterns that help them develop a denser skeleton than just running. And guess what? It can even help the sites that we tend to get stress fractures in. You see, a recent study from Warden and colleagues found that the bones in the lower leg and foot developed in a positive manner to just adding in soccer or basketball. They looked at athletes that just ran during their developmental years versus athletes that also played basketball or soccer. The runners that implemented those ball sports had stronger and denser bones, specifically in the areas that we see stress fractures in distance runners. Specifically, that was the distal tibia, the fibula, the second metatarsal, and then the high-risk stress fracture sites of the base of the second metatarsal, the navicular, and the proximal fifth diaphysis. Now, this is a big deal because even a small improvement in the density of our bones has a substantial improvement in our risk for developing a fracture. You see, in another study by Warden and colleagues, they found that a 10% increase in your bone mineral density had a 107 times increase in that bone's resistance to fracture. If simply implementing some other movements shows us such a big benefit, we should definitely be doing that. Do something that's different than just running, because no one wants a stress fracture.